Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Scumdogs Kennel. I'm your host, Chris Williams, and I have another great show planned for us. But first, while we wait for people to gather in the chat, let me show you some artwork from my own upcoming graphic novel, Scumdogs. Now, folks, let me show off some artwork now. This is my Extreme 90s cover. Maybe I should also tell you one more thing. We're going to be dealing with how people deal with aliens and cryptids tonight, so look forward to that. Here's my Extreme 90s cover. It looks pretty good. Looks very awesome, huh? Now, this cover I did take you back to the 90s with all the comic books that were out back then, all the great comic books we all remember. Now, the name of my comic book here is Scumdogs. It's a parody book. I parody the cartoons we grew up with. And you can see here the characters look reminiscent of characters we saw back in the 80s and 90s. They look very awesome, don't you think? Now, the Scumdogs, the title characters, are supervillains out to take over the world. They're basically a parody of villains from 80s cartoons. And their archenemies, the forces of the Space Forces, they have to deal with the Scumdogs. See, the Scumdogs, as I've explained before and said, are former pro athletes who competed in the Scumdog sports. See, the Scumdog sports is sporting events held with superhuman monsters as the pro athletes. They're called Scum and Dogs because you transform yourself into a superhumanly powerful monster to compete in the sports. So you get the idea. They're not exactly the nicest guys around. Think of pro athletes and then give them superpowers and you get the idea. But what happens when they get banned from sports? Well, the Scumdogs decide to take over the world, particularly Deathmug, the leader and stuff. Deathmug is the purple guy with the metal mask who's currently fighting Buick Starpoon, the guy with the pink pompadour hair and stuff right there. Deathmug is a parody of various villains from 80s cartoons. You can see it in the way he looks. You can see aspects of villains from 80s cartoons. He's got a metal mask that's a silver metal mask like Cobra Commander from G.I. Joe, and he's got gold on him like Serpentor from G.I. Joe. And he's purple like the Shredder from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Well, his archenemy Buick Starpoon, the guy with the pink pompadour hair and the white and green uniform, he's basically a G.I. Joe parody, which means he basically has a military specialty. But he's also, I'll get into the military specialty in a moment. He's also a parody of space hero kind of characters like Captain Kirk. You know, James T. Kirk and stuff like that, or Buzz Lightyear, or let's see, anyone else? Han Solo and stuff like that, or even Buck Rogers, those kinds of characters. He's a parody of them. But because he's a G.I. Joe parody, in fact, all of his team in the Space Forces are G.I. Joe parodies, he's got a military specialty. Buick Starpoon's military specialty is that he's a captain in the Space Forces. Well, this guy over here with the mohawk, his name is Roadhog. He's right here. His military specialty is that he's an army guy. Before he joined up with Buick Starpoon, he was part of the army. While this bald guy with a gun down here in the blue uniform, you see him right here in the blue uniform, his name is Beach Pounder. His military specialty is that he's a Marine, just another Marine. Well, this guy back here in the red uniform driving his vehicle, the guy with all the guns, looks pretty awesome, don't you think? I mean, yeah. Shooting off his weapons. His name is Blasting. His military specialty is that he's a tanker. You know, he's a heavy vehicle specialist, a tanker and stuff. You get the idea. Now, this cover is one of 3 different variant covers you'll be able to back when my Indiegogo goes live, so there's that as well. But let's move on and look at some more artwork. Here we have Girl Friday. Girl Friday is the second in command to the Wild Rangers. The Wild Rangers is the name of Buick Starpoon's team in the Space Forces. But Girl Friday is his second in command. She was assigned to the Wild Rangers because while the Wild Rangers defeat the Scumdogs and save the universe, they're just highly destructive idiots who destroy everything in sight. Their idea of saving a town is basically burning it down so the scum dogs can't take it. So her superiors in the Space Forces assigned Girl Friday to the Wild Rangers, and she hates her job because she thinks her career in the military is over because she's now basically a babysitter. Give you an idea of who these characters are, and the artwork on them looks pretty good. The characters you'll be reading about in my graphic novel. Now we're going to be looking at Death Mug's henchmen. Because in all 80s cartoons, the main villain would have henchmen and stuff, and they'd be total idiots. These are my idiots. The blue guy with the top hat is Murder Mouth, and the pink guy down here is Sloppy. There are a couple of idiots that can't possibly do anything, right? And they're going to be fun when you read about them in my graphic novel. Looks pretty good, huh? Here we have Hair Metal Doctor. Hair Metal Doctor is basically a parody of Dr. Mindbender from G.I. Joe, who's a mad scientist. But my mad scientist here has been crossed over with a hair metal musician, because I thought that'd be awesome to have as a villain. He thinks of all the mad machine gadgets and machines the scum dogs use to try and take over the world. He's Hair Metal Doctor. By the way, hit that like button for me, folks. It helps me fight the algorithm, okay? So more people can see my videos. Hit that bell and hit the part of the bell that gives you all future notifications for my videos as well. And please share this video out on Twitter and Facebook. Here we have Miss Breasty Melons. Miss Breasty Melons is a parody of the Baroness from G.I. Joe. But unlike the Baroness, she's a party girl. She only became a villain because she wanted to have fun. So she joined up with the Scum Dogs. So you can read about her in my graphic novel once it goes live. It's not live yet, folks, but it's coming. Well, the Hair Metal Doctor pinup and the Miss Breasty Melons pinup will be included with other pinups in my graphic novel for you to look at. But I will also get these pinups out to you from Crypto Fashion as soon as I'm able to make them. So look out for those as well. We looked at this for a while. That's pretty good. Let's go over here now. Exit out of these. Let's see if you guys hit that like button for me. Oh, maybe I should do this. Get out of these. Let me do that. All right. Now, before we move on and talk about various things, let's go over here. Go to comics. Let's see if there's any new comics up on Indiegogo. Alien Alamos made 82,221. That's good. Various other comic books as well. Requiem for the Crazies. Arthur Adams. Illustrate Red Sonja. Stomp 2 comic book. All right. Dark Knights and Daydreams. Join our quest, The Boy Who Loved Batman to Broadway. Okay. All right. To Broadway, huh? Black Bishop. Ooh. When UK agents targeted, it's up to Black Bishop to eliminate the threat. Maybe. All right. Let's go over here. Let's go look at this, see if there's any other graphic novels up. Downcast 3 Submerged. Forced surfaces to wage war on the invisible gods in the flying city of Strata. All right. Doesn't look like too much new up. Does look interesting, though. Wart the Wizard, Portal of Echoes, has made 11,575. That's good. Gotta maybe think about backing that book. There's that as well. Now, folks, let me go over here. We're going to be looking at, as I've explained before, how people deal with aliens and cryptids. We're going to be talking about the various things tonight, how people over the years have dealt with these weird things, particularly, let's see, the problems of taking pictures of monsters, how the government deals with these creatures as well, various things that are going on. How people have come up with various ideas, hairy monsters and stone circles, a connection. How we come up with these theories and stuff like that. How people deal with all this stuff. Basically, we're going to be talking about monsters, but we'll also talk about how people try to take pictures of them, try to find ghosts and stuff like that, try to prove they're real and stuff like that, and the problems that comes up with it. So, first off, let's start off with the problems of taking pictures of monsters. Or maybe we should start with a Pentagon spokesperson, White House press secretary talk UFOs and aliens. Which one should I do first? Maybe look at this one first, depending on how long it is. To paraphrase Jimmy Durante, everybody wants to get into the, UFO. It started with the release of Navy radar images of ship and pilot encounters, images and ship and pilot encounters, and got hot when the Pentagon agreed to issue a report on UFOs still scheduled for this month. Presidential candidates were asked about them during the 2020 campaign. Late night talk show hosts seemed to ask every guest about them. Former President Barack Obama, are already in the act, but he expanded his role recently while the White House press secretary and Pentagon spokesperson got peppered with questions this week. What would Jimmy the Snitch Durante? What would the Durante think? What would Jimmy Durante do, huh? And so I would hope that the knowledge that there were aliens out there would solidify people's sense that what we have in common is a little more important, but no doubt there would be immediate arguments about we need to spend a lot of money on weapon systems to defend ourselves. New religions would pop up, and who knows what kind of arguments we get into. We're good at manufacturing arguments for each other. No, that wasn't Durante's answer. Came from the former president in a wide-ranging interview with Irza of a newspaper I'm not going to name and stuff. The question turned down to this previously stated interest in knowing more about these recent UFOs. When asked what he thought would happen if they were proved to contain aliens, Obama suggested that instead of fighting them, humans would form new religions to worship them. He didn't say any. The reporter officially didn't pursue that line of questioning. And I'd say, no, we shouldn't worship these creatures because they're sure not God. I don't care how powerful they are. I'm not so sure the idea of worshiping these things and that people getting together to worship them is a good idea. So we should worship people who might want to take over the planet, huh? Now, the idea of aliens taking over the planet sounds rather grim. But then again, when you look at our own leaders, you have to ask ourselves, would it be that big of a difference? I mean, these guys might actually be more reasonable. But the idea of worshiping them as gods? Obama, you idiot. No. We should not worship them. I'm not so sure we're equals. I mean, they have technology and stuff like that beyond us. But the idea that we should worship them, that sounds very much like you would like everybody to be a slave. It doesn't matter what skin color they are. You think that maybe we should bow down to them because they're aliens. Do you think people will do that? If they're smart, I really don't think they should. But what do you think, folks? Leave me a few chats and your opinions of this. And stuff like that as we get a bit more into this article here and how people deal with it. Worship them. Great. That's just... We're participating in a lead study again mandated by Congress. We're providing context and information that we have on these phenomena. And our focus is on supporting the DNI efforts to produce this report. That's where our focus is and again, that's our line. That's our place to be in, is to provide the kind of context we have, the information that we have to help produce this report for Congress. Someone who would undoubtedly vote for weapons over Bibles, John F. Is John, huh? Assistant to the Secretary of Defense for Public Affairs in a recent press conference, was asked repeatedly about UFOs, UAPs, and their forthcoming Pentagon report. Then Kirby repeatedly deflected the questions to the Director of National Intelligence, Avriel, the first woman to lead the blah, blah, blah. I'm not so sure I like the idea of that. Sure, a woman can do some jobs and stuff like that. Maybe, I don't know. But the fact you need to bring up the fact that this woman who's, the first woman to do this, that it's that important, even though we're talking about aliens here and how we have to deal with them and stuff. You're bringing up the fact that she's the first woman to do this job. let's see, she's part of a spy net. Well, she's a spy and stuff, or she leads a bunch of spies and stuff like that. I don't really care. We don't need to talk about that. We need to. Hines wasn't there to feel the deflection. At least Lewis acknowledged them as phenomenon rather than dismissing them. We take incursions into our airspace, both identified and unidentified aircraft, very seriously, and there's absolutely nothing you can do to stop them. And you want to investigate them, each one. I don't really think you can, beyond saying that thing was flying through the air. We know it. We saw it. We can't do anything to stop it. That's what one would have, dealing with alien stuff like that. That's what one would have expected from John F. Kirby. Kirby or Avril Haines, but that answer comes from Jen, White House press secretary, at a briefing last week. However, she then mimicked Lewis. Would be working on the report, and in terms of disclosure, that would be up to, that's up in the air. When pressed on what President Biden thought about UFOs, this woman then comes up with a bunch of words and stuff like that, but that we're very interested in getting to the bottom of this sort of thing and all that stuff. Blah 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 blah. What would Jimmy Durante say about this? It's time for Avril Haines to get into the act. This, yeah. Well, he already said that. He says that he thinks people should worship the aliens. Oh, I don't like Obama worshiping aliens if they're here just because they have better technology than us. Of course, I don't think that would bring people together. It sounds like you're actually for slavery there. Worship, new religions, and stuff like that. Oh, good. That's a bad thing, I think. Jeez. Now, what do you think, folks? This is how these people deal with this. Let's say about something else. It was a good article to bring up here for what I was talking about and what we think. But I should probably have done this so I could field any questions anyone had. But you get the idea of what I was talking about. Now we're going to be looking at, we can look at that later on. Damn it, where are you? Where are you? Down here. I hope I didn't skip it. Where are you? Let me do this. Go over here. And it's that down here. Oh, wait a minute. I think I was in the right area. Let me do this. That. Get to there in a moment. Let me get this. Here we are. Yeah, let's see about this. Let's talk about this where we're talking about, trying to prove that monsters and cryptids exist. The problems, trying to prove that these creatures exist and stuff. Of the varied unknown animals that fall into the category of cryptozoology, there is one thing that connects many of them. It's their uncanny ability to avoid being caught on film, and on more than a few occasions, more than a few, the same go, This is a problem with trying to take these pictures, trying to prove they exist. The problems with trying to get any of this proof, these pictures. A few occasions, cameras have been known to fail or the monsters suddenly vanish at the crucial time. Let's take a look at what some examples of this strange phenomenon will begin with the cycle of the goat man. Okay, a strange beast seen roaming the woods of Lake Worth, Texas, midway through 1969. It wasn't long before the story reached the local media. The first story of the creature was titled "Fishy Man Goat Terrifies Couples Parked at Worth," with this at Lake Worth, or just say Lackworth. let's see, Larkworth. It appeared in the pages of, it appeared in the pages of the Fort Worth-based Star Telegram, July 10th, 1969. It's intriguing to note that one of the witnesses to the goat man, a man named Jack, a resident of Fort Worth, attempted to take a picture of the creature only to find that his camera suddenly died on him. Yeah. Other strange things. The same things happens with UFOs. Why does this happen? Why can't we take pictures of these guys? They make jokes that you can't take pictures of these creatures, but maybe you really can't take pictures of these creatures for whatever reason there is. Yeah. Leave me a few chats on your ideas for this stuff. I want to hear your opinions on this, or your ideas on this. I want to know what's going on here. Why people work so hard to try and take pictures of these creatures, but they can't. Or, get any evidence of them and they still can't. Linda Godfrey has written a number of excellent books on what many might call werewolves, but which are properly known as dogmans. Linda's books include Beast of Bray Road. Let's see. Beast of Bray Road. The Beast of Bray Road. Hunting the American Dogman, the Michigan Dogman, Werewolves, and Real Wolfmen. In my opinion, Linda's book Monsters, Us, an exploration of otherworldly Bigfoots, portals, phantoms, and odd phenomenon is her most ambitious and thought-provoking. Section 4 of her book is titled Creatures of Shadows, Mists, and Light, and it has that title for a very good reason, as Linda demonstrates on many occasions where dogmen are often seen, so are strange, usually small balls of light and mysterious mist. Attempts to photograph the man-wolves are foiled time and again by weird mists and fog that seem to envelop and cloak the locations, thus preventing anything of supernatural significance from being captured for posterity. Sounds very interesting, huh? Why? Why does this happen? The husband and wife team, Colin and Jen Board, Janet, have noted that camera-based problems have long been issues for Nessie seekers. In fact, since the very year in which mega-scale Nessie fever began, the board said when Hugh Gray took the now famous photograph of the Loch Ness Monster on 12 November 1933. He did, in fact, take 5 shots, but 4 were blank. Now let's take a deeper look at Loch Ness in the matter of cameras. Certainly the one person more than any other who came to appreciate the strange phenomenon, F.W. Ted, who up until his death in 1979 spent endless time at Loch Ness trying to see a Nessie. On several occasions he did. Halliday wrote a number of books, including The Goblin Universe, Fishes and Whales, Dragon and the Disc, The Great Olm of Loch Ness, with Renaud John's Purr over there as well, and with Aaron John Purr and Angeling in Wales of Holiday, several sightings of a Nessie. Certainly the most intriguing was his encounter in 1968. Okay. Holiday said in The Dragon and the Disc, I had now gone 76 days of observation since my last sighting and was aware this couldn't continue. A camera and 14-inch telephoto lens lay under a dust sheet ready for instant use. Binoculars never left my nick. Sooner or later, a dragon had to show, and in the end, show it did, but it refused to imprint itself on film. It was August 26, 1968. That Holiday had a strange experience involving a camera, a large animal that showed 3 connected humps in the lock. Also on the site were the Pickett family, who were also hoping to see a monster in the deep. Holiday's recollections went as follows. Pointing, I said, can you see that? As Miss Pickett turned to look, her husband and a couple of her children came out of the tent. All of them saw the object, shouting, watch it while I get the camera. I raced across the grass, but the instant my hand touched the camera, Miss Pickett exclaimed, oh, it's gone, and so it had. There's that as well. To work so hard and not be able to take a picture of it. You can see here, what is with this? Can these creatures sense us when our attentions, and a moment we try to do this, it was able to react to him, and basically the Loch Ness Monster got away? Could be. Who knows? Maybe. It could. I have no idea, but it does look like it, doesn't it? It was the camera-based experience and several others that he was aware of that prompted that, Holiday, to quote from an ancient text, he said, "There seemed to be no way of explaining this apparent omniscience on the part of the monsters," Holiday stated. "There was nothing new about this." Holiday explained what he meant by this. In one of the 13th century in a poem, he speaks of Drimrod, the dragon, the following lines: "Let the servant stand firm between the looks of the Drimrod, ruddy glancer whose purpose cannot be viewed for a sufficient time by those who with impurity plow this noisy sea." And that seems to be an ideal time and place to conclude this. This story here and stuff. Yeah, so these creatures might actually know about it. They might actually be intelligent. And when we try to take pictures of them, they basically disappear. Bianca Zombie. Aloha, Bianca Zombie. And yes, I am still here, Bianca Zombie. You can feel free to leave a few more chats. I'd love to hear more about you. We've been talking about how people deal with, cryptids and aliens, cryptids, how the government deals with them, how people try to take pictures of them, the various trouble they have with it and stuff like that, trying to get the evidence and stuff like that to prove that it exists. It's all very entertaining. Let's see, we just looked about taking pictures of them. Let's see. We have ideas and stuff like that. Various things. People have theories about what these creatures are, but they can never get any solid proof of them. Freaky fog, mysterious mist in the world of the paranormal. We just basically, what's with mist? A problem with mist is that a lot of times when you're trying to take pictures of these creatures, a very weird mist will appear around you and basically prevent you from taking pictures of them. And these creatures seem to basically draw it to them, or as soon as you think you have a good shot of them, Bigfoot or other creatures creatures will just disappear. And there's this mist again, so we should talk about that as well. But what do you think about this, folks? It's very, very, entertaining to read about, I know that, and as well as why? Do these creatures control these things, or is the mist itself some sort of supernatural creature? Or is there other creatures helping these monsters stay out of sight? Maybe something like magic. Or maybe it's magic itself. These creatures can't be photographed because magic will prevent it or something. Stephen Ragnar, writing at Lifeboat, says one of the most mysterious examples of paranormal phenomenon is strange fog or smoke. The appearance of such an unusual cloud, especially if it is strangely colored or has no apparent natural cause, may signal appearance of something otherworldly, such as a ghost or a spirit. Mysterious fog, smoke are also associated with vanishings, he continues. Such experiences, surprisingly, are not as common as many people might think. Not as uncommon as many people might think. Is not wrong. There are numerous such examples, and it's the issue of mysterious fog and mist that I'm talking about. A look at today will begin with the eerie story of Annie Owen. I interviewed on August 11th, 2000. Annie had a very strange experience while living in North Wales. It was the night of January 23rd, 74. Told me the following. We had brought two derelict 400 year. As I was saying, if you're wondering about this article, again, we're talking about how people deal with monsters and cryptids, aliens, cryptids, how much trouble it is to try and take pictures of this stuff. And we're touching on the fact that a lot of the time when people try to take pictures of such creatures, trying to take pictures of like this, a mysterious fog will rise up and prevent them from taking any pictures at all, or the monsters will just disappear. Like the numerous times people have tried taking pictures. The numerous times people have tried to take pictures of Bigfoot. Bigfoot would just suddenly disappear. By the way, folks, hit that like button for me, will you? It really helps me fight the algorithm, as well as please go share this video on Twitter and Facebook. Let's see. Let's get back to this article. We had brought we're talking about this woman here who had basically had to deal with this weird things happening around her. We had brought two derelict 400-year-old cottage. we had bought two derelict 400-year-old cottages, which we were converting. This was on, mountain above, and Lenrust, near the river Conry. We'd taken a caravan up and a horse as well, and our two children. We were in the caravan with the children as we couldn't move into the cottages yet. That night, January 2030, the house was very restless. The horse was very restless, so we put him near our caravan. But later in the night, we started rocking the caravan and was in a terrible state. Later that night, he started rocking the caravan and it was in a terrible state. Then we suddenly saw this thing outside the window. It was like a white ball, very slow moving. It was difficult to know how far away from us it was, as it was pitch black outside, but it looked about 2 or 3 feet wide. Then suddenly there was an enormous bang, absolutely colossal. And he continued, the only other person who was local to us, and he continued, the only other person who was local to us was an old lady who was staring at it too. Staring at it too. Well, she came up to me and said that she'd been woken by the bang. She also lived on the mountain, had gone to her bedroom window and had seen these little men that was very small and all dressed in black, about 3 to 4 feet tall. She thought because she'd seen the military on the mountain before this was something to do with them, but she found it rather odd that they were so small. So she described a little gathering of them, about 4 or 5, very, very early in the morning, near where the tree was. But she said that they didn't look too different; they're only smaller. Notably, Annie added that the day before and the day after this happened, a weird mist came down out of nowhere. This was nothing like the normal mist, and I still remember it. Well, that's interesting. As we're dealing with, people have had to deal with weird myths coming up, preventing them from getting any actual, knowledge on what is going on here. These creatures will show up and then disappear, followed by strange things like mist or maybe even, lights and stuff like that, and then just nothing. This was nothing like a weird mist. Mist, I still remember it now. Okay, we can see her talking about that and stuff. So let's continue with this. Wrote an article titled "The Rinsum Forest Incident." They say after observers reported strange lights, the deputy base commander, Lieutenant Colonel Charles Halt, led a larger party of the Rendlesham. There, Halt measured abnormal amounts of radiation. Okay, he did that. He found radiation at the place? I might have to read that again. They say after observers reported strange lights, the deputy base commander, Lieutenant Colonel Charles Halt, led a larger party into Rinsum. There, Halt measured abnormal amounts of radiation at the original landing site. Another smaller group, off on a separate track through the forest, spotted a dancing red light inside an eerily pulsating fog. Researcher and writer Brian says of what was seen at Rendlesham Forest 6 years later. Base personnel described the craft they pursued as metal and conical, with a bright red light above and a circle of blue lights below and suspended in a yellow mist. Okay, so they saw that, but they also can't explain where this weird stuff was coming from as well, or they couldn't explain what it was. Moving away from UFOs over the course of more than 2 decades, Linda Godfrey has written a number of excellent books on what might call werewolves, but which are popularly known as dogmen. Linda's books include The Base to Bray Road, we've learned about that, Michigan Dogman, Monsters Among Us, an exploration of otherworldly Bigfoots, Wolfman portals, phantoms, and other phenomena. Her most ambitious and thought-provoking section of her book is titled Creatures of Shadow, Mists, and Light, and has that title for a very good reason, as Linda demonstrates on many occasions where dogmen are often seen, so are strange and usually small balls of light and mysterious mist. Attempts to photograph the man-wolves are foiled time and again by weird mists and fog that seems Okay, dogs. It seems to envelop and collect their locations, thus preventing anything of supernatural significance from being captured for posterity. Some of these mists are of eerie green color and occasions seem to be caused of noticeable amounts of missing time on the parts of the witnesses, or as ufologist Jen Reynolds words it, well, Oz factor. At times, the witnesses report being plunged into a different reality, and in reality, some might suggest an almost dreamlike world, completely lacking sound and normal surroundings, but filled to the brim with high strangeness. UFOs, ghosts, dogmen, paranormal phenomenon, and alien encounters, they all have connections to mysterious mist and strange fog. Does this mean all of this phenomenon are somehow connected? John Keel came to believe that numerous types of supernatural entities, MIB, ghosts, lake monsters, phantom black dogs, we're all part of black dogs. We're all part of a bigger picture that we were and still are unable to understand or penetrate. In other words, things remain foggy. Okay, there's that as well. Let me go back over here, folks. Let me see if you hit that like button for me. Not doing too bad here, but let me go back over it this way. Okay, there's the dogmen and fog and stuff like that, and people trying to take pictures of these creatures. But really, what are these things? Why do people try to take pictures of them only for them to fail miserably, or try to get any evidence of them and fail miserably? I mean, every time they've attempted it, no one's been able. Everyone has always failed, no matter what they do. Even when hunters have tried shooting Bigfoot, they've missed or been enabled. When they think they've hit him, the bullets just don't have any effect. So do these creatures actually possess such powers like invulnerability, or somehow basically being ghosts and the weapons will just go right through them? Who knows? But it is interesting to talk about and wonder what these creatures are actually capable of. Let's see here. And what are their connections to various, weird sites and stuff like that? We have one here about hairy monsters and stone circles. A connection? Possibly. There could very well be some sort of connection. But people keep trying to come up with theories to explain these creatures. But every time they try to do that as well, these creatures do something new. Like there'll be dog and wolf men and Bigfoot in, the United Kingdom. Well, in the United States, we'll have various creatures as well. But sometimes, a lot of times, they say that Bigfoot doesn't exist in such countries because there's no way for it to basically get to England without swimming and stuff like that. Because, England has no, real primates to it. So no one can figure out why people would see Bigfoot over in, the United Kingdom. He certainly can't get there, can he? There's that as well. Now, maybe go over here. Let me do this. Yes, not. Let me do this. By the way, folks, hit that like button for me as well as please go share this video on social media. We're talking about how people have to deal with various creatures and stuff like that, how they're trying to prove these creatures exist can be a bit of a problem. And stuff like that, how it's nearly impossible to take a picture of any of these creatures because they'll either turn out bad or it'll just be unusable at all. So, yeah. Even though people have attempted taking pictures of fairies and stuff like that or other creatures, the fact that, these creatures radiate such power, or the fact that the device tries to bypass any effect trying to affect it by basically making a picture of someone that looks, different than what they actually, that looks different than what they actually tried to take a photo of. Like it'll be foggy, or it'll be unclear, or whether it'll be, the photo will be messed up, or even the photo won't develop at all. Or the information they have will suddenly be worthless for some odd reason. There's that as well. Paranormal docs to stream on Halloween. Dogman Woman Black MIB. Exploring Canadian Monsters, Ontario. Exploring American Monsters, Wisconsin. The Dogman synopsis reviewed. Symposium. Right. Manifestation of monsters reviewed. Maybe. Let's see. Werewolf, Squatch, werewolves, yetis, and wild men. Let's look at that. And how people have trouble trying to take photos of Bigfoot. Could do that as well. Leave me a few chats and give me your opinion on why people are having such trouble proving these creatures exist, or trying to get any proof of them. It's very entertaining to read. So, do this. I exited out of there for a second. The saga of extraterrestrial dogmen. Here's another theory and stuff like that. Trying to prove these creatures exist, and maybe the dogman or werewolves are aliens that just look like what idea what a werewolf would look like. So there's that as well I could look at. Maybe look at extraterrestrial dogman. Why not? Let's just try to get through this article. Since 1991, the Wisconsin town of Elk has been the lair and hunting ground of a terrifying creature. That is the closest thing one can. That is the closest thing to imagine to a real life werewolf. The monster has become known as the Beast of Bray Road, on account of the fact that many of the initial sightings were made on that particular road in the town. Without doubt, the expert on the monsters is author and journalist Linda Godfrey. And, some years ago, I interviewed Linda about her research into this. Some years ago, into this malignant beast, which has become known as the Dogman since 1991. Reports have surfaced from other parts of Wisconsin and Michigan to Michigan to, let me get back to this. Michigan too. Linda told me the story of it first came to my attention about 1991 from a woman who had heard rumors going around here in Elkhorn, particularly in the high school, that person had been seeing something like a werewolf, a wolf-like creature, or a wolf man. They didn't really know what it was, but some were saying it was a werewolf, and that werewolf tag has just gotten used because I think that people really don't know what else to call it. Here's her opinion. I started checking it out. I talked to the editor of the week newspaper here, and which I used to work for. He said, why don't you check around a little bit and see what you hear? This was in about the end of December, and being a wacky newspaper that I worked for, we weren't really, weekly newspaper that I worked for, we weren't really hard news. We were much more feature oriented. So I asked a friend who had a daughter in high school, and she said, "Oh yeah, that's what everybody talking about." So yeah, I started my investigations. Got one name from the woman who told me about it. She wasn't also a part-time bus driver, in my opinion. Phone call to the bus driver. She told me that she had called the country animal control officers. So, of course, when you report at any time, you have a chance to field anything official. That's where you go. I went to see him, and sure enough, he had a folder in his file drawer that he had actually marked werewolf in a tongue-in-cheek way. So we have this person here who has to deal with trying to find information about the wolfman, trying to get everything she knows. She goes to animal control officer, and he has a report about this stuff. He labeled it and stuff. So we have this. What do you think about this, folks? What do you think about their opinion of this? Her opinion of this, with her trying to basically know as much about the story as possible, even though it's something like Dogman. Best we can come up with is a bunch of eyewitness reports of a creature that looks like it's half man, half animal. And that has appeared, and sometimes there's also lights around it as well as fog, and it's nearly impossible to get any kind of like photographic evidence of it. All right. People had been phoning in to him and say that we had seen something they didn't know what it was, but from their descriptions, that's what that's what he had put. So of course that made it a news story. When you have a public official, the county animal control officer who is a folder marked werewolf, that's news. It's very unusual. It just took off from the end. I kept finding more and more witnesses. Indeed, it did take off. Linda had now written 5 books on the subject. While there are numerous for what the dogmen are demonic entities, shapeshifters, a rare, unique kind of wolf. The list goes on. The strangest of all theories is that which suggests the creatures are extraterrestrial. Yes, you read that right. Yeah. All right. In 2005, Linda contacted a man, a military whistleblower, who we might say who was an expert in the field of remote viewing. Essentially, remote viewing is a process that allows the mind to physically travel just about here and there and elsewhere, everywhere. Astral travel, one might say, according to Edward Snowden, like source the U.S. government has uncovered data suggesting the dogmen are a very ancient alien race. Closely resembles, alien race closely resembles the ancient deity of the underworld, Anubis. Godfrey's informant also discovered via remote viewing that dogmen can jump from location to location via portals or doorways in the fabric of reality. That's quite a story told to Linda. Crystal thinks state and of Anubis. Anubis is the Egyptian name for a jackal-headed god associated with mummification and the afterlife. In Egyptian mythology and the ancient Greek language, Anubis is known as Impu, spelled Ennapu. The oldest known mention of Anubis is in the Kingdom of Pyramid text, where he is associated with the burial of the king. At this time, Anubis was the most important god of the dead, but he was replaced during the Middle Kingdom by Osiris. He takes various names in connection. With his funerary roles, such as he who is upon his mountain, which underscores the importance of a protector of the deceased, and the tomb, and the title, he who is in the place of he was in place of embalming, associating him with the process of mummification. That is an interesting article, and how people deal with this, how they use various information they've come up with, look for prior information or information they didn't think to check before, and we find there might be a very good connection between aliens and, parts of humans. There's that as well to consider. When people try and prove these creatures. Sorry about that, folks. It was an accident. Share screen. There's that as well. So we have that there. So what do you think, folks? People try to prove these creatures exist. They get various information. Go down here, see about a few things, or maybe I should do this. Yeah, trying to prove these creatures, and people come up with various ideas of what these creatures could be, but they have no real idea what they are either. I mean, they really do try a lot to find what is the exact reason for these creatures. And they continue, and people, what is the reason why they can't prove it? That's what we're talking about tonight, and how people deal with these creatures. We talked about how the government basically tries to basically control the narrative of aliens and cryptids, saying they either don't exist or that they control the narrative that the aliens are evil. That's what people are saying that they're going to come out with. That yes, they do exist, and that everything is perfectly fine, because they can no longer really keep it down that these creatures don't exist. But in fact, they actually do. That's very weird. And people continue seeing these creatures, which is another weird thing. But yet no one can prove that they actually exist. By the way, folks, hit that like button for me. It helps me fight the algorithm, as well as please go share this video out on social media. I think I'll go over to this site. Let's see. Let me go look for something. let's see. Haunted roads and the paranormal from around the world. Gateways to hell. The Delore incident. The 1973 UFO wave. We looked at that before. The fascinating encounter of Francesco and Camille. The woman from an alternate reality. There's another idea about this, how people deal with this. A woman from an alternate reality. How people. The Betty and Barney Hill abduction. We could look at that as well. How people, if people see these things, how do they explain them? That's what we're talking about tonight, folks. How they try to it means we explain them. How do they get any evidence? How they try to collect that evidence as well, and why they are unable to prove any of this actually exists. That's one of the reasons why we're talking about tonight, folks. How there's such things as a mysterious fog that keeps basically people from taking photographs of Bigfoot or even the Loch Ness Monster, or how as soon as they are at the right time or get their hands on a camera, as soon as they try to take a photo, the monster just simply disappears in front of them. That's the topic of tonight's video, folks, as well as how the government deals with these creatures, how they're basically probably hiding the existence of such creatures because they want to give forth the impression they do have control over them. But in fact, they probably don't. Now, if I could find a few more articles talking about such things, maybe I should say proving UFOs. Yeah, why not? Let's go with proving UFO. The UFO windows of the United Kingdom, the other UFO waves, UFO books. I'm trying to find a new article here. I mean, I only have a few minutes left before my video is ended, but hey, we'll continue to talk about such things. Maybe I should go to the other one. We're a few minutes in. No, if I could. Let's try this. Saga of Extraterrestrial Dogmen. Could very well be as well. Dogmen, Women in Black, and it might be. Okay, I'm not so sure how big long this article is, but let's take a look at it. Here's another theory. Is there a connection between Dogmen and Women in Black? So let's take a look at this. One of the most terrifying puzzles of relatively recent times is that of what has become known as the Dogman. The creature resembles, a wolf, but with one big difference. This creature walks on its back legs, an upright wolf? Well, yes. Or the closest thing to it, inevitably parallels between the Dogman and werewolves abound. Certainly the leading expert in this field is Linda Godfrey, who has written a number of excellent books on the subject. Real Wolfman, the Michigan Dog. Well, Real Wolfman. Yeah, Real Wolfman, huh? One of the lesser-known aspects of the Dogman phenomenon is that which connects it to the Men in Black and the Women in Black. That's right. There are cases in which witnesses and investigators of the Dogman have been visited by Men in Black and warned not to, MIB, and warned not to talk about their encounters. Granted, the number of cases is small. I have just 6, but when compared to each other, a pattern differently emerges. One of the cases comes from none other than Linda herself. In the first weekend of August 2016, I spoke of Ken Garrett's Dogman Symposium in the city of Defiance, Ohio, which was the site of numerous Wolfman Dogman sightings back in 1972. It was during a break at the Dogman Symposium that Linda briefly mentioned her odd story to me, a story that she went on to expand as follows. And here we have another case where, people have theories and stuff like that, or even have for some odd reason, like the fog coming up, we have the MIB suddenly, or as well as the Women in Black suddenly, the Men in Black and the Women in Black suddenly appearing and basically saying, no, you did not see anything, and if you continue with this, you will be prosecuted. So maybe these things have something, maybe all supernatural things are connected somehow. Maybe. Or maybe they don't want any of this to be proven true because, maybe it's not that they're all connected. It's the fact that maybe all of these different things actually know about each other. Maybe these creatures are intelligent. Maybe ghosts are intelligent and actually talk with aliens. Could be. And so we have this to consider as well. Or how and this stuff. Let's get back to this article. It was around 2003, a sunny, warm, a sunny day, and I happened to be out on Hospital Road, which is just off Bray Road and where a lot of sightings of dogmen have taken place. On that particular junction of the road, there were a couple of cameramen and two colleagues of mine that were with me, and we were all being filmed for a TV show. It was the turn of one of my colleagues to be filmed. The other one and I were just standing on the side of the road waiting and seeing what was going on. And when this very large black sedan pulled up, and as the window came down, there was an older woman in the car, nobody that I knew. We looked at her as the window came down, and she said in an accent that sounds kind of like a weird foreign one, but it could have been Eastern European. I'm not sure. Yeah, well, they asked, "What does she want? Anything?" There was something about her mannerisms. Yeah, it wasn't as if she was tentative or worried about anything. She just stated this is in a really almost a commanding way, and my friend and I looked at each other and we just said, "Thank you. No, we're just filming." And it was like she didn't really understand what we said. She said what she said because she said again, "Do you need any help? Can I help you?" We said, "No, thanks." Again, she still didn't drive away. She looked over at the cameraman who was filming the activity, and she seemed a little reluctant to leave, but there wasn't any great reason she could think of to justify staying. So she finally turned and stepped on the gas kind of slowly, and that was it. But it just struck me as so strange at the time. She was dressed in black, but it wasn't a normal business suit or anything like that. The car was black and the interior was kind of dark. I would estimate she was probably in her 60s, and she had a deep voice. Her hair was grayish and pulled back. There was a bit of it was weird to her. She was weird. It was such an odd thing. It was out of the ordinary. It struck my mind. She didn't fit in with the local populace at all. Well, that's what she says. Of course, those of us of a skeptical nature would likely be inclined to say this was simply a case of a woman in black taking an interest in a TV shoot rather than an incident involving a definitive woman in black. I should stress, though, that in the other cases I have on file where witnesses saw the dogman and then visited by the MIB, the black-dressed Indies were on the scene almost possibly quickly and always in cars. You know, the color of these cars methinks we should take a deeper look at the dogman MIB phenomenon. There's that as well to consider. Yeah. What is with these creatures? They show up, and then, every time someone tries to take a UFO or maybe, or take a picture of a Bigfoot, something like fog will show up, or their camera dies, or even the MIB will show up, and basically, or the women in black will show the men in black or the women in black will show up and tell them basically, don't, no, you are not going to take pictures. That's against what's going on here. You will go away and you will forget any of this. That's what constantly happens. So what is the reason for that? It's all so much. It's all so much fun to learning about these things, how these things are connected, how all these things keep happening as well. What is with it with fog and balls of light, as well as how do they relate to Bigfoot and all these other creatures? What draws them all together? Are they somehow connected? Who knows? But the more we learn about this, the more I'm certain that there is something going on. And whether if they are connected, okay, or not, maybe, but certainly it does point that they most certainly are connected in some odd manner, or at least something is up. Or if they really are connected. Either way, folks, this has been one hell of a great live stream. I'm going to thank you all for joining me. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Read Comics They're Bad For You, okay? The there is misspelled. It's THERE. So that's Read Comics They're Bad For You. Make sure you're still subscribed. Hit that like button because it helps me fight the algorithm, okay? As well as, so more people can see my videos. As well as please share this, leave some comments down below because I love to hear from you guys. As well as please go and share this video on social media. Share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook. As well as please go over and subscribe to Stitch Together Pics. Stitch Together Pics is a YouTube channel that deserves far more subscribers. You're going to love the host of it. He plays this character with multiple personality disorder, and you're going to laugh and laugh as he reviews his movies. They are just so much fun. He plays 3 different characters, and they're all great. That's Stitch Together Pics. That's Stitched Together Pics. As well as please go and subscribe to Creepy Little Book. Creepy Little Book is like the Art Bell radio show. He does live streams every night, but he also releases small videos talking about high strangeness. He live streams every night on weekdays at 12:30 a.m. and on weekends at 10 o'clock p.m. and 3 o'clock a.m. So be sure to go and subscribe to Creepy Little Book. I'm Chris, as well as please go over and subscribe to my Rumble channel. Okay? Go over to rumble.com, search out Comic Freak, and then subscribe to my channel. It's named Comic Freak, and go and subscribe to it. Go and subscribe to my Rumble channel named Comic Freak. As well as go over to BitChute and subscribe to my BitChute channel. It is also named Comic Freak. Remember, folks, I'll be back again tomorrow around 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, 10 o'clock or some other time for another video. Remember, folks, I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdogs Kennel. I'll see you all again, tomorrow.